Going. Wait for my cue. Alrighty, let's see. Stream is good. Waiting for our picture. Oh shit, it can't be test. Alrighty, we are live here on TYT Sports. Let me just rename the live stream real quick. We appreciate everybody tuning in. This is the pre-fight live stream. We're gonna be going for the next 2 hours. 2 hours to give you everything.
And I got plenty of water.
We're live right now. You gotta go get water?
No, I said I got plenty of water.
Oh, thank goodness. Brittin Harden is right there. A fighting aficionado is going to be with us for the next 2 hours. We have a jam-packed schedule here on TYT Sports. And I want to pull this up very quickly just so everybody knows what exactly we are going to be doing, who we're going to be talking to, the whole 9 yards. So with that being said, let me pull this up real quick, and here we go. Just so everybody knows, I'm going to be producing while also hosting. So without further ado, at 3 o'clock, 3:05 actually, in 2 minutes, we're going to have Dave Ross from Stadium. They have a live show every day, Monday through, 7 days a week. Shit. 7 days a week. They stream live on Twitter. So Dave Ross is going to join us. He has sat down with Conor McGregor many times as well, and Floyd Money Mayweather. Marcos Villegas is Fight Hub TV. Flow Combat, as a lot of people know from social media, they put out fantastic content. Francis Maxwell is going to be joining the program at 4 o'clock. 4:15, Timothy Bissell's Bloody Elbow. He's going to have some fantastic satire. Submission Radio, many people know them from Australia. They're going to be on the program. And The Boxing Voice. But without further ado, Brittin Harden, how you doing, sir?
Man, I'm doing lovely. It's no better day for me than a fight day, and this is mega fight day. So as you can pretty well imagine, yes, I'm up for this one.
I just can't believe that it's actually happening.
I know.
I'm shocked that we're here. Like, I woke up this morning and it's like, shit, this is legitimately happening.
Yesterday, when I saw those two men standing on that stage across from one another, both having made weight, no one suffering any injury, no one pulling out, no one saying, hey, this was all a big joke. Man, like, I have to tell you, my heart started beating a little bit faster. I was actually at Best Buy. I commandeered one of the laptops at Best Buy, went on the YouTube and watched the weigh-in live because I couldn't miss that thing. And I have to just tell you, man, like, I definitely got goosebumps just knowing that this fight is upon us and that it's a real thing.
Definitely. And again, I just can't believe that it's actually occurring now as well. It's just shocking, to say the least. It's shocking. So without further ado, I'm going to try to get Dave Ross on the line right now as well, into our hangout. Again, everybody just be patient here for a second. Not only, I feel a sneeze coming, not only am I going to be hosting, but I'm also... There we go. Perfect timing.
It looks sexy.
Yeah. I'm also going to be doing... I know that I'm pulling up a lot of stuff right here just to try and get Dave Ross on the line right now. Unfortunately, we're blanking on his email. Okay, there we go. All right. So let's get Dave Ross in here. And, you know, Brittin, just to comment a little bit further, I was watching a lot of the build-up, of course, to what took place. And seeing Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather going back and forth throughout the weigh-in, mainly Conor, actually. There wasn't a ton with Floyd. Why was there such a subdued Floyd Mayweather in the weigh-in?
I think he's all business. You know, we saw this when he fought Manny Pacquiao. He's taken this fight very seriously, contrary to what a lot of people believe. I think that, you know, obviously he's an executive producer on Showtime All Access, and the way they wanted to depict him in All Access was that he was not taking this fight very seriously, that he didn't think that Conor McGregor, posed much of a threat to him. Contrary to all of that, we know that he's a consummate professional. And I see we got my man Dave Ross.
Yeah, so
on the
let me interject here. We got Dave Ross on here on TYT Sports. David!
What is up, gentlemen? Are you guys ready for the sporting spectacle of our lifetime tonight?
I believe that we are both incredibly ready. Dave, we were talking about how we woke up today, and it's just, by the way, Dave Ross of Stadium, you could watch his show Monday through Sunday, every freaking day on Twitter.
We never get 2 days off like Bill Belichick.
Without the cheating, of course. Dave, you woke up this morning and you felt what, knowing that this was actually taking place?
I really can't believe it because Brittin and Rick, as you guys know, when we have a lot of UFC fights these days, with John Bones Jones, they get canceled 24 hours before they're supposed to happen, right? So you wake up today and you're like, thank goodness this is actually going to go up. I don't know what we're going to see, but at least we're going to see something. Right. It's not going to be pulled out. It's not, Lucy with the football to Charlie Brown here. We're actually going to see this show, and I really don't know what we're going to see. I think I know. I think you guys think we know, but that's why we're all going to watch tonight, because it really is the theater of the absurd.
Dave, I have to say that right before you came on, I just kind of echoed those same sentiments with seeing those two men on that weigh-in stage together, how amped up Conor McGregor was, how subdued Floyd Mayweather was, how amped up that crowd was. That's a 20,000 seater, and it was, I believe, sold out. People paid to see those two men just weigh in, and the theatrics went into that. I got goosebumps and chills just knowing that we have a fight on our hands.
What were you guys more impressed with? Because, Brittin, I think you make a good point about Conor at the weigh-in yesterday. Were you more impressed with how good Conor looked to get down to 154 and how amped he was, or how calm Floyd was right in the face of Conor McGregor?
Well, for me, I'll start. I honestly was more impressed with Floyd Mayweather's composure because I've always said that emotion doesn't win fights. The most calm and the smarter person in the ring wins the fight. And I don't think for 1 second that Conor McGregor plans to come into the ring as amped up as he was at the weigh-in. But if that is any indication of how he's going to come in, and if Floyd Mayweather can maintain the kind of composure that he had while this beast is literally screaming insults in his face, he's going to see every opening that he needs to kind of pick him apart faster than most people think that he will. So, to shortly answer your question, I really do believe that the composure of Floyd Mayweather with someone yelling in your face like that, that you have to fight this person, I was really impressed by that.
Hey, Dave, allow me to interject here. I want to read a few comments that we do have. And again, send all of your questions on the live stream. You could also send it to me at Rick Strom and at Brittin Harden on Twitter. Dave, let me start with you. One commenter, Rob Wetherall, said, do you think Floyd looked a little blown? Now, I don't know exactly what blown means in this context. I'm assuming he means bloated. But I mean, I thought he looked perfectly in shape. What'd you make of it?
I thought he looked great. What, 149.5? We knew he was going to be right around 150. I mean, you guys know this is Floyd. He's always going to be around 147 and 151. He just never fluctuates. I thought he looked great. As impressed as I was by Conor being able to make the weight and look good and healthy doing it this time, I think I was actually more impressed with Floyd because when does the body go? I know over 40, it's not easy to look that damn good, and he still looks fantastic. How is he doing it? I mean, I hope he's doing it the way we all think he's doing it, because this is a guy that we've never suspected of doing any foul play, anything illegal here, because he's been the one that's always advocated drug testing in the sport of boxing. So to keep his body and in that kind of shape and look at it like the temple he looks at it, man, that's impressive for a guy north of 40.
Brittin, what do you think?
I agree with Dave. I have to say that, I have a few different text chains that I go back and forth on, and people were asking my opinion on this, and I'll echo the same thing. Is Floyd looked shiny, and when I say shiny, he just didn't look dehydrated. He didn't look like he depleted himself at all. He knew what his maximum weight could be, and contrary to going up to 154 and maybe putting on a little bit of muscle, what will make him stiffer in the ring, he knows what his strengths are. So what that says to me is weighing in at 149.5, he knows that he's agile, he's fast, and to beat a bigger man who's going to most likely outpower him in the ring and look to walk him down at some point, he's going to need to be able to find the angles to pick his spots, get in and out, and shoot his shots off. So I was very impressed with the way Floyd Mayweather looked.
You know, Dave, as I was walking around Chicago today, there were so many people that were either sporting pro Conor McGregor shirts, and then there were also 49-1 Conor McGregor shirts, but with the Irish flag attached to the 49-1. Many people have viewed this fight as a farce, that Conor McGregor, even though he has stepped into the octagon, he has never stepped into the squared circle. He has never fought a professional boxing match. What do you say to many that want to just say, you know what, this is complete Mike Malarkey. I'm not buying it. I hate everything about it. What do you say to those people that are so anti the fight of the century?
Well, don't tell that to any of the Irish, because they don't want to hear it and they won't believe it. And again, like, you know, I was at the Nate Diaz fight at UFC 196, about a year and a half ago now. I've never witnessed anything. All the boxing matches or MMA fights, I've never witnessed anything like the Irish following that literally goes to the ends of the earth for Conor McGregor. And Conor knows and how much they believe in him and bet with their own money that they might not have a whole lot of in Dublin that they're going to put in this guy. He feels that responsibility. So while those people might think it's a farce, they actually believe in this guy and they speak it with their wallet. And I think Conor feels that. And whether or not we think it's a Travis Sham mockery or not, Conor believes he's going to win. I don't believe it, but he believes it. And you guys know how important that is in athletics, that somebody actually believes. Like, I'm not just fooling these people for a paycheck. I'm not fooling my own country. I believe I'm going to win. And I think Conor really, truly believes that. Whether or not he has the skill set to get it done, that's it.
But not to play devil's advocate, but a lot of people are feeling like he did talk himself into this fight, which is true. He did talk himself into it. If he didn't go, if he decided to play it cool as a cucumber and be like this, I'm trying to think of an example, like a laid-back Victor Ortiz way of going about his fighting career, no way in hell this happens. So in a way, he did talk himself into the paycheck, Dave.
Yeah, yes, but you guys know how this started on Conan O'Brien, right?
Of course, in July 2015.
Right. And basically, he said it very nonchalant. He was very calm initially, like, oh, my God, are you kidding me? Like, I'd bounce this guy's head off of the ring. I mean, he doesn't know what fighting is. And I think that's what he... Yeah, he really believes that. And so that wasn't like ooh, let me do this for hype and try to get this thing started, this fight. He just said it very kind of matter of fact. So I think he's always believed from day one that Floyd just runs around the ring. And Brittin, as you know, that's not true anymore. But that's what the perception is about Floyd. And so kind of thought, geez, if this guy is just going to run and dance, I could do that for 12 rounds. Yeah. I think he's going to be in for a world of hurt tonight and find out a different story. But I think that's what he really believes.
Dave, when you say a world of hurt, what do you mean exactly? I'm trying to pull up the exact quote, by the way, that he had on Conan, but what do you mean by that?
I think he's going to get knocked out. I think Conor McGregor...
Really?
The reason why Floyd Mayweather agreed to the 8-ounce gloves, and everybody goes, oh my goodness, big advantage for Conor. No. Floyd doesn't give you any advantages inside his world. This was all a tactic by Floyd Mayweather. And Brittin, as you know, he's going to work the body early. The key two words in this fight will be adrenaline dump for Conor McGregor. That'll happen after about the third round. And then all of a sudden, Floyd goes body, and eventually pot shot with that right hand and those 8-ounce gloves for more power. I think Floyd gets the knockout in the 8th round.
Britt?
Dave, man, you know, I was in studio with Francis Maxwell yesterday, and I basically gave my breakdown of the fight, and that's exactly how I see this thing going. Conor's going to come in. He's going to have a lot of adrenaline. He's going to come forward. He's going to try and be in Floyd's face. He's going to understand, once he's in that ring, two things. One, it's not as easy to hit Floyd Mayweather as it is to hit a sparring partner or aging Paulie Malignaggi or a UFC fighter. And the second thing he's going to realize, which all fighters realize when they get in the ring with Floyd, is that he hits a lot harder than they suspect. People think that he's a cutie in the ring and all he wants to do is dance, all he wants to do is box. But if that were the case, then 170-pound Canelo Alvarez would have walked through him.
Well, you know what? To your point about him being a cutie, he used to be Pretty Boy Floyd.
Yeah,
So it was in the past, Britt.
That was his name. That was
right
his name.
under Bob Arum, of course.
When he was Pretty Boy Floyd, he was actually getting more knockouts. He was known for being a knockout fighter when he was Pretty Boy Floyd. But just to finish the point, I think that once Conor gets hit with some of that heavy leather and that punishment starts to settle in on him, and those 8-ounce gloves will see the sustained body attack that Floyd Mayweather is going to administer in that ring that I don't think Conor's used to. What MMA fighters, they don't typically go to the body because when you're that close, you can grab, you can clutch, you can get that grip behind the head, you can bring in knees. They're
like a Muay Thai grip.
A Muay Thai grip.
Right.
I was blanking on the term, but you don't see them get in close and do a lot of infighting as it pertains to the body. Conor's not used to that. And in 8-ounce gloves, you have to think like this. It's going to favor Conor mentally because he thinks that he's the bigger puncher. But the punches that land are the punches that matter. The puncher who's landing the punches. So with Floyd Mayweather fighting in 8-ounce gloves majority of his career, and him being the faster fighter, and let's just call it what it is, the more technical athlete in this particular sport, he's going to be the one dishing out the leather in this fight. So I mean, I think that it'll be entertaining while it lasts. I don't see Conor. Conor's he's an Irishman and he's amped up and he has a whole country here to support him. So you know that he's going to come and put his best foot forward, and it's going to be good for as long as it lasts.
Gentlemen, I want to get to a few questions here. Real Madrid, thanks for watching out of the Bernabeu, says, is Conor going to use a roundhouse kick? There is something, Dave, I believe, in his contract, according to Dana, and Dan Wetzel had a great piece as well. And I believe I have the quote right here, but basically he said, oh, here we go. Dana via ESPN, that will not happen on doing MMA stuff. First of all, obviously that is absolutely in the contract. Number two, this is a boxing match under the NSAC. When you go to court, it's always about damages, and the damages on Mayweather, if something like that happened, would be massive. Yet there is a prop bet, and I believe it's plus 800, that he does like some sort of MMA stuff. Obviously, I don't believe it'll happen to you.
No, I don't think you're going to see any kicks. Although SNL did a great spoof on that Thursday night, where they're like when I hit him with my hand, I get my kid. They go, no, there's no kicks. He goes, just 10 kicks then. Like, no, there's no kicks. You cannot, 0 kicks. There are 0 kicks. But you know what I think you will see? The Superman punch, because I've been told that that's legal. That you can actually propel yourself a la Superman, like we always see in mixed martial arts. That I bet you he tries to do that. You will see that at least once or twice.
But he would leave himself so open, Dave. He would leave himself so open.
But Floyd's never seen that. He might not know necessarily how to react to that. That's the most unconventional thing that Conor can do early on in this fight. And maybe Floyd for a second goes, whoa, what's that? Because he's never seen that before. That's the only thing Floyd's never seen.
Right. Yeah. So you're saying you got to make it as unorthodox as possible against Floyd.
Absolutely. That's his only chance of surprise. And that's going to be early because you guys know how smart Floyd is, and he'll figure him out. And if this fight goes past 4 rounds, which of course I think it will, I think then Conor has 0 chance of winning. Not a 10%, 0 chance, because all of his power is going to get sapped. His legs are going to start to go, and he's in there with the most technically skilled boxer we've ever seen. If he doesn't get him with something crazy early, he's going to get knocked out late.
Yeah, I agree. 100% agree.
Britt, could you just go over real quick the difference, aside from the ounces, because you have fought in many, many boxing matches, the biggest difference, as you know, between 8-ounce and 10-ounce, aside from just the ounces?
Well, I've never been involved in a contest in 8 or 10 ounce gloves, but I can tell you getting hit with a 14 is tough. I can tell you the difference between getting hit with a 16 and a 14. So I know that there's a difference between the 8 and the 10. I mean, it's academic. Less padding, more knuckle, more force, bigger man. It's gonna hurt. These punches hurt, and I think I want to stress this because I think that Floyd Mayweather doesn't necessarily get credit for his punching power because he's such a good boxer, but everyone that he faces, with exception to maybe Manny Pacquiao, which I believe I read that Manny was 1 or 2 pounds heavier than him on fight night. I'm not sure if I believe that, but everyone with the exception of Manny Pacquiao and Juan Manuel Marquez, when he came back from retirement, have all outweighed him outrageously. Sometimes 10, 15, upwards of 20 pounds in the ring. And if it was that easy to beat him with 8-ounce gloves or 10-ounce gloves, then these people would just walk through him. They would simply walk to him, trap him in a corner, and beat his body down until he caved. I mean, if you've ever met the man, I know Dave has, I have. Floyd Mayweather is not big at all.
No,
he's very small, but he knows what his strengths are.
Waters post. I'd post him up on a basketball court.
Would you score though?
Maybe.
No.
And then I'd tell a little skyhook. He can't block it.
So you'd be Kareem and he'd be Muggsy Bogues. Is that what you're saying?
In this equation, I would be, yes.
Yeah, I figured. John Hill asked both of you guys, how much did you guys bet on the fight and on who? Dave?
I have not. I've bet $0 on this fight.
You're not a betting man.
If I were to bet on this, I would absolutely load up the mortgage, the child support, the alimony, everything that you have, and put it on Floyd Mayweather, and you'll get it all back and then some. I cannot believe this got bet down to where it did. Now it's starting to go back up. But the fact
But what was it initially? Was it plus 900?
Plus 900 when it opened for
Yeah.
Conor. It got all the way down to plus 300.
Correct.
Think about how much money it takes in Las Vegas to move it from 900 to 300, and now I think it's gone back to about, 450 or somewhere in there?
I think I saw 350 this morning.
That's insane. You'll never get better odds for a guy that's, as Brittin said, never fought a professional boxing match in his life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is crazy.
Brittin, has he ever seen somebody who has pressured him, or at least attempted to pressure him, for 12 full rounds like Conor should do at least for 4?
Absolutely. The first fight that people, kind of suspected he may have lost was years ago against
Chop Corley, right?
No, Castillo.
Jose Luis Castillo.
Jose Luis Castillo, and if you go back and watch that fight, that's a pretty tough fight to score if you're a Floyd Mayweather fan. Trapped him in against the ropes.
So are you implementing or saying there that he did lose the fight? Is that what you're saying?
Listen, what I'm saying is
Look
that
at his smile.
I'm thinking that every time I watch that fight, I score. One time I score from Floyd. One time I'll say Castillo took that one. And I mean, I guess that's the nature of good fights. But just me saying that alone gives you the hint that this man who's been largely untouched, he's been pressured before by bigger people. Bigger men have hit him in the body. Bigger men have hit him on the temple, in the head. We saw Shane Mosley.
Right.
Bigger men have attempted to outbox him. And I've said this before. I don't think Floyd Mayweather looks at it and says, I'm fighting Conor McGregor or Shane Mosley or Canelo Alvarez or Manny Pacquiao. He looks at the style. He looks at the body type. He looks at, what they've done in their past. And he says, okay, I'm fighting a 5'6", darty, in and out, really fast fighter with a left hook. With a good left hand. I don't want to get caught with that. Let me prepare for that. That's Manny Pacquiao. I'm going to fight a really, really good boxer, strong with the left hook to the body, good with setting up his timing. That's Miguel Cotto. He looks at the style. He doesn't look at the name and get caught up in all of those things. So I don't think there's much that he hasn't seen before, but he hasn't seen what Conor's going to do tonight, because Conor's going to try and come with angles, and he's going to try and use his mixed martial arts, Bruce Lee style, and it'll be something that Floyd Mayweather has to make an adjustment.
Right, exactly like he was in the weigh-in as well with the Bruce Lee stance. Dave Ross, I have 2 more questions for you, and then I know that you got to get going, and tune in.
I can be late. It's okay. This discussion's much better. Let's
Okay, all right, fantastic. Well, we still have 5 minutes, so there you go. By the way, Dave Ross, once again, to plug your stuff, follow him on Twitter at DRossSports. And also log on to Twitter every damn day, because Stadium is live streaming every damn day. And Dave Ross is the head honcho, the jefe over there. So please do check it out. Real Madrid has another question for us, guys. Do you think Conor is going to be 170 in this fight? Dave, do you think – I'll just set it at 170 and a half. Do you go over or under?
I'll take the under, but I think he's close to it. I think he's going to rehydrate at least 10 pounds, put him up around 165, 168. He's normally probably is a 170-pounder. I don't think he wants to be that heavy for this fight.
Right.
Put on that much weight 24 hours later, because it is going to cut down a little bit on his mobility. I know he wants to pressure. That pressure you put on the added weight, that starts to wear you down. So he doesn't want to be too light. He's not going to be 158. I think he'll be easily 165 in that vicinity, and he'll feel good. But he's going to have to be the proverbial bull in the china shop early in this thing because he is going to wear down. We saw it against Nate Diaz in both fights, right?
Totally.
I mean, he was looking up at the clock, like, when is this round going to be over? And just, can you imagine 7th, 8th, or 9th round, if we get that far, he's going to be gassed. And that mouth is going to be open, and Floyd's going to pot shot him with that right hand, and it's going to be lights out. So if he puts on too much weight, all it does is shorten the life expectancy he's going to have in this fight. So if he comes in at 175, God forbid, and puts on 20 pounds, oh, what are you going to get? 4 rounds out of him tops, and then he's done.
Right. Britt, what do you think?
I agree. I think that, just to disagree a little bit, I do think that he's going to try and come in at 170 because I think that he feels that the more he can absorb the shots that will definitely land on him, and the bigger he is, he's just going to walk through Floyd Mayweather. That's all he said, right? And I mean, and that may be just something he wants the media to bite on. But even yesterday at the weigh-in, when asked, he said, I feel like I'm going to come in at 170, maybe a little above that. So to your point, Dave, I agree with you. I think that the longer the fight goes, the bigger he is, that weight is going to be a disadvantage. The legs are going to get heavy. And we saw it in the second Nate Diaz fight, as we talked about before, where he knew in the first fight he gassed himself. Yes. So a large part of his preparation was his cardio, riding bikes in the desert, kind of doing his underwater treadmill to boost up his cardiovascular. But it didn't really benefit him because he's still kind of gassed out fighting that man. And so whether you're hitting somebody who just is an indestructible force that keeps coming at you, or you're missing a bunch of shots, you still get that adrenaline dump when it hits.
Guys, I am looking for it. Oh, there we go. So we were talking about Nate Diaz. Via oddshark.com, one of the prop bets is, will Nate Diaz walk out with Floyd Mayweather? The yes is plus 115. The no is minus 160. David, yes or no?
Take the no, because I'm sure that Nate right now doesn't know where Nate is. So for him to be there.
What does that mean?
Oh, I'm sure he's on the couch with Cheetos and, maybe some very smoky residue is what I would believe in Stockton, California. Good luck getting that guy off the couch for anything if he's not getting paid $1 million to do it.
All right,
because right now, that's the way Nate Diaz rolls. So unless Floyd wants to open up the wallet a little bit for Nate, he's not getting off the damn couch.
Joe Lopez is asking, or actually is stating, in all caps, by the way, no excuses for Floyd not stopping Conor. Brittin, do you agree that there's no excuses for it?
I've gone back and forth with this one because I watched the Canelo Alvarez fight, and I think that at points in that fight, Floyd was having his way with him, and he was teaching him a lesson. And the only reason why some of the punches didn't take more of effect is because Canelo Alvarez was 170-plus pounds, and it doesn't matter how much punishment you're dishing out. If the person is just too big, you can beat them. You may shell shock them. You may get them to keep their hands at home, but maybe they just won't go.
Right.
I think that, on the contrary, Floyd Mayweather should be able to find some angles in some spots, maybe on the inside, maybe when Conor's coming in a little wild, maybe when Conor's throwing that right-hand jab, he can slip past and land a nice, crisp right hand when he floats past. Mm-hmm. So there are pockets where I feel like Floyd can really hurt him, and if Floyd can really, really hurt him, if he doesn't back off and be overly defensive, he can get him out of there. So I'm at odds with that one, and I kind of feel a way about, conflicting him either way.
Okay, Dave, we got one more for you, and then we're going to let you go. Real Madrid is asking you, do you think that this fight is going to go the distance?
I don't. What I cannot believe that in Vegas right now, you get plus 200 Floyd by decision. I cannot believe that Vegas, yes, minus 160 for Floyd to get a knockout or TKO. I can't believe that. So, because we all just assume, well, like Brittin said, it's going to be hard to knock him out, so more than likely he wins by decision.
I got minus 135, Dave, off of
How about that? So it looks like the Sharpies, and we all know they're normally not wrong. They believe Floyd's going to get the knockout in this one. Here's the thing. I do remember the Ricky Hatton fight very well. And coming over from England, bringing all his people, and he did the same thing. I mean, if you guys remember the first 4 rounds of that fight, it was really ugly.
Yeah.
It was just really ugly. All the holding and hitting. And Hatton just tried to ugly up that fight, which I think Conor's got to do to a degree. And then what happened? He got pot shot with the right hand. He got tired, and then check left hook. Good night. I don't know if Floyd's going to catch him with a check left to end this one like he did on that night, but I do think the same style of fight you're going to see in the first 4 rounds, where it's going to be that it was English bravado, it's going to be Irish bravado. Hey, do you want to fight or do you want to dance? I'm here to fight. Can he make it early like Hatton did early? And if he does, and if he can, he's got a chance early. But Floyd's too smart for that. He's seen all those tricks from all those guys we just mentioned. So no matter how much you try to crowd him and make it an ugly fight, once he gets space, right hand's coming.
Alrighty.
And he's going to work the body early and knock him out late.
All right, Dave Ross, we appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for joining us. And check out Dave Ross on Twitter at @DRossSports and also on Stadium, which streams live on Twitter every damn day. Dave, by the way, what do you guys have coming up on Stadium today?
Tonight, it'll be, you know me, it's going to be Mayweather McGregor all night long, baby. I had a little special last night and had world champs, had Terrence Crawford on the show, and Lamont Peterson of the world. It was great. We're going to regurgitate some of that to get their feedback again and some of their fight predictions, and, of course, I'll break down the fight afterward.
Fantastic. Dave Ross, thank you so much, man. Appreciate it.
You guys are the best. Talk to you guys soon.
All right.
We miss you, bro.
Oh, that was cute. Dave Ross of Stadium joining us here on 120 Sports. Good stuff as always. Or, excuse me, on TYT Sports, formerly of 120 Sports. He's, of course, on Stadium. Good stuff. By the way, Dave, you need to hang up.
I have to do it?
You gotta hang up.
I'm old. I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Yeah,
See you, boys.
You're a man. All right. Dave Ross of Stadium. Good stuff as always from him. He is one of the best. He is certainly one of the best. So good stuff from there all around. We do have more people coming on as well. We are, let me see if I can do that. There we go. Okay. Why don't I just do it? That'd be easier. We do have somebody else coming on right now, and it is going to be Marcos Villegas, Fight Hub TV. One of the best in the business as well. A very, very good analyst. And I think, Brittin, I believe that you've spoken with him many times at the fight as well. At a few fights.
Me and Marcos are cool. That's my guy. He's very knowledgeable. He does great work. He's always at the fights. He takes his job very seriously, and he has a way of just being at the right place at the right time. So I'm very excited to have him on the show.
You know, the times that you guys have interacted with one another, I know that you've said that he's always been a really cool dude. He's been a stand-up guy, but his coverage as well of fights, getting access to the fighters, interviewing Brother Nazim as well. I mean, he is putting forth a great effort in trying to keep everybody abreast of what's going on. Getting in front of Nazim, getting in front of Roy Jones. So we're going to look forward to talking to him. Again, Dave Ross just joined us. We have a bevy of people as I'm dialing up Marcos right now. Dave Ross of Stadium just came on. We're going to have TYT's own Francis Maxwell joining us as well. We have just a ton of great people coming on. So as we wait for Marcos, the best way for Conor McGregor to win this fight, Brittin, is what exactly?
I think that he has to listen. Conor McGregor, I believe, is a little bit too set in his ways to adapt anyone's style, right? And I also wouldn't recommend that he adapt anyone's style. But when I envision this fight, I envision the first 4 to 5 rounds looking like a combination of Marcos Maidana and Ricky Hatton, where he's just all over Floyd. He knows that he's bigger, and he's just trying to pressure Floyd, make him uncomfortable, make Floyd overreact to a feint, show Floyd a different look that he's never seen before. And as I detailed in how McGregor beats Mayweather on TYT Sports at the Legends Gym, I think that he has to not get so complacent and so set on landing that big left hand. I think he needs to work his jab. I think that he needs to not be afraid of working in combination, working on the inside. And, you know, because simply if he tries to land that big left hand over and over again, Floyd's going to know how to counter. He's going to know how to get away from it. And ultimately, he's going to see all of the openings that he needs to, you know, dismantle his opponent. And so I think that he needs to stay composed and throw in combination in this fight to beat Floyd.
But the best way for him to win is just to not necessarily expel all of his energy, but to try and make this, as you said and Dave said, dirty,
Make it dirty.
Tough.
Yeah.
You brought up a really interesting point, and so did Dave. Try and just fight in a phone booth while also throwing different things that Floyd has never seen, because he's so experienced. He's going for 50-0. He's trying to do something so unorthodox, and he should try to do something so unorthodox that Floyd has never seen.
He needs to fight Floyd, not box him, not engage in an MMA fight, not be very tactical. He needs to fight him like they're fighting on the street.
Right.
He needs to fight Floyd Mayweather like Floyd Mayweather disrespected his newborn son. He needs to literally, the whatever the gray area is between him getting a point taken away or disqualified, he needs to ride that line. Because if he does anything that Floyd Mayweather has seen before, Floyd will just download that information. Oh, this is Ricky Hatton. Oh, third round, this is Marcos Maidana. Oh, right. Fifth round, this is Canelo Alvarez. He's going to know exactly what to do. He's a human computer, and he's a master when he's in that ring at making adjustments.
There's something interesting that I saw, and it was a tweet by Oscar De La Hoya. And I mean, we're allowed to say this, it's the internet, but not pleased, safe to say. He said, fuck you, Mayweather versus McGregor. That's a hashtag. Both of you are disrespecting the sport of boxing. Hashtag Canelo GGG, September 16th. There's a lot to this. It's number one, he has never been a fan of Floyd Mayweather. Number two, he lost to Floyd Mayweather. Number three, he could not get the fight between Canelo and McGregor, which was rumored to be happening. Number four, he's trying to also hype up his own gate with Canelo and GGG. Is there anything I'm missing here, Brittin?
No, I think that you hit all the fine points, but I think that it's more so the latter than what everyone is speculating. Mm-hmm. The mere fact that he hashtagged Mayweather versus McGregor on the day of the weigh-in, where this is absolutely taken over the internet, taken over ESPN, taken over every sports broadcast, and is in the mind of everyone, lets me know that he's a little bit more he's being a little bit more thoughtful than people are giving him credit for. Obviously, these are genuine feelings. He doesn't care for Floyd Mayweather. He did try and get that fight with Canelo Alvarez, but I think that he's being strategic with that.
All righty. Marcos Villegas of Fight Hub TV. I'm sorry that it took us, well, about 8 minutes over time. We had a little technical difficulties. But nonetheless, Marcos, you look great. I believe that you're in Vegas as well. Double thumbs up. All right. Fantastic. Marcos, you're in Vegas, correct?
Yes, I've been here since Monday, actually.
Holy shit. Okay, so overall feeling, how amped are you? How amped are the Irish fans in Vegas?
Irish guys are crazy, guys. Oh, my God. These guys are – I don't know how they get all this energy. Probably the alcohol, but and we actually we're uploading a piece just uploaded a piece right now to the YouTube channel where we went ahead and spoke to just a ton of Irish fans yesterday at the weigh-in, and they're pretty pumped for the fight. A lot of them are in the I like to call it the cult of McGregor. Anything he says, anything he does, they follow, they worship, and really everything that Conor has said about the fight, they told us that's going to happen in the fight. And if you ask him, how's Conor going to win this fight? And they're like, Mayweather's too small. He has a little peanut head, that big left, the hook, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, it's been a lot of regurgitating McGregor lines from the Irish fans. But they've been great. You know, they've really added a lot to the atmosphere. And it makes it feel like it's a big fight. And it makes it feel like you're in a soccer stadium in Europe when they're at the weigh-in or when they're together. They're chanting. They're having fun. So it adds to the atmosphere. And it makes it a lot more memorable.
Real quick, Brittin, allow me to interject here, and then I want to hear your thoughts. We're trying to read as many comments as we can here on the live stream. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, youtube.com/TYT Sports. Rob is asking you, Marcos, do you find it bad that the NSAC changed their minds on the gloves after stating originally that the fighter's safety is the priority? What do you make of this weird late decision?
It's about money. You know, it shows you that money talks and that they're willing to bend for a fight that's going to generate the state of Nevada a lot of money. Oh, yeah. They are a government agency, and if Nevada makes a lot of money, obviously they're going to get a line item that's going to go to them in terms of what they get in a budget on a yearly basis. So, you know, there's a political motivation there, I think, that's blatantly obvious on their part. They should have never sanctioned this fight. To be honest, you have a guy that's never had a. If this was happening with any other boxer, I don't think it would have ever been sanctioned. To be honest, if I was going in to fight Conor McGregor as an 0-0 person, they would never sanction that fight ever. So for them to sanction the fight and then as well for them to accept the glove sizes, I think it just shows you that when there's a lot of big business involved, that they're gonna bend to the will of what's making them a lot of money, and it shows you, in my opinion, how inept they are. The commission should not be bending their own rules because they're gonna get some sort of not payout, but they're gonna get some sort of benefit.
They're gonna benefit, yeah.
Right. Britt, what do you make of it?
It's advantageous for them, and I agree. You know, we were having this discussion on Twitter yesterday where there's however many paramedics going to be on site in fear of Conor McGregor getting severely injured. And I also spoke about this on TYT Live with Francis. If you take the names out of it and you just say, hey, you have a 49-0 guy facing a 0-0 guy, wouldn't you want to have extra paramedics on hand? And wouldn't you think twice before sanctioning this fight? And if this guy does happen to be able to get the fight, are we going to increase his chances of getting hurt by lowering the ounces of the gloves from 10 to 8? I mean, it's a lot of things, to Marco's point, that shows you when money is involved, rules can get bent. And in the really bad scenario that someone gets severely hurt in this fight, that's when the inept actions will come to the surface. But if it all goes away and it's just a fight and it goes as we think, they'll kind of sweep this one under the rug. But I agree. Right.
And even speaking more volumes to both of your respective points, there was a rule, rather a sanction that took place in 2006 because 2 fighters died. So when we're talking about the severity of injuries, we literally do mean death, lethal force that is going into these punches. So to see them go back, I'm right there with you guys. It's shocking to say the least. Marcos, one for you. Rad movie guy, which, by the way, you can't just name yourself Rad movie guy. Like, we need to see some sort of history that you're that rad. But nonetheless, why do you guys think McGregor is just going to fall over? Not necessarily fall over. He would get punched to fall over. But I believe that we're all in the same camp, Marcos, correct? That we believe Mayweather is going to not necessarily dominate, but he's going to win. But I think it's more so of the mantra of the media going so far against Conor is what Rad is pointing to here.
Well, I'll go on record. I think McGregor's going to get his ass kicked. It's going to happen.
Okay. Save the prediction for a little bit later in like 5 minutes or so.
I think why, Conor's being dismissed is because you just look at the track record of Floyd Mayweather and how he's dominated against the other opponents he's fought. And when you look at it with CompuBox stats, how he has the lowest percentage of punches being landed on him against guys that have been really high volume punchers. And then even that, when someone faces Floyd Mayweather, their punch output is cut in half. So whatever, say you land 40 punches normally on any other fighter, you're landing only about 20 punches against a Floyd Mayweather. So those are against guys that are high elite level boxers that have been boxing their whole entire life, that have a whole lot more of experience than Conor McGregor, in some instances faster than Conor McGregor, technically better than Conor McGregor, more powerful than Conor McGregor. And these guys had extreme difficulties fighting someone with the style of Floyd Mayweather. Now, you take a guy who at best is at an amateur level in boxing, who he even admits himself that he did boxing on an amateur level and then he made the switch over to MMA. And he says he's been boxing his whole life, but there's levels to it. There's, amateur, even when you're at the elite, there's levels at the elite, there's good, there's great, and then there's special. Floyd's a special kind of fighter. And for a guy to make this big, of a leap in terms of talent compared to what he's faced in his sport, it's a completely different thing. And I think because of that, people are dismissing Conor McGregor in this fight. He's coming in with an amateur skill set going up against a guy who's a special fighter. But, who knows? Maybe McGregor will show us that he's a special fighter. But in terms of boxing, I think it's going to show very quickly the class in the first 2 rounds.
Do you believe that Conor McGregor is going to pull a Boom Boom Mancini and try to just get off his stool in between rounds and run right after Floyd Mayweather? Because that's really the only way that he wins this fight, is fighting in a phone booth. Correct, Marcos?
He has to. Here's the thing. So for Conor McGregor to win this fight, he can't fight like Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor is a counterpuncher. He waits for people to throw their punches, and then he is able to land his punches. So for him to win this fight, he can't out-counter the counterpuncher, the master counterpuncher in Floyd. Stylistically, it's already going up against him. When Floyd has fought other counterpunchers in the past, most notably Juan Manuel Marquez, he forced Marquez to come forward. Floyd will stay there and wait. He doesn't care. He'll stay there and wait for you to come and throw punches, and you've already fallen into his game plan. So looking at history, he's made counterpunchers come forward. Now, if McGregor comes forward, he's fighting completely out of his style. And so far up to this point, the style that has given Floyd trouble has been a chaotic, frenetic pace type style where this guy is coming forward, roughing him up, hitting him with punches from all sorts of angles, getting really, really dirty. That has shown some success against Floyd, but Floyd tends to figure that out within 4 rounds. He did it with Maidana. You know, he had a hard time the first 4 rounds, and after that, he figured him out. So, conventionally speaking, he's going to have to fight that kind of fight. He can't outbox Floyd. He's not going to be able to out-counterpunch him, so he's going to have to come forward, and if he does, that opens him up with so many punches, especially with the smaller gloves, that he could get cut up really, really bad in the fight.
Going forward with that, Brittin, what do you make of that?
I think that this, it reminds me of the conversation that you and I had on TYT leading up to Canelo's fight. I remember the night that it got announced, you and I headed to the studio. We had a good conversation about it. And you asked me why was I so confident that Floyd Mayweather will win this one walking away? And my answer to you, as I remember it, was, who has Canelo faced with a similar style to Floyd Mayweather that he can understand?
Matthew Hatton, bro.
but to my point, Canelo Alvarez has never faced a fighter like Floyd Mayweather at this level. And Conor McGregor has been very successful doing what he's doing. He's been very successful in the UFC. And I don't think that he's given credit to the kind of style that he's going to see on fight night. I mean, even fighting Sparring Paulie, had he kept Paulie in camp, that wouldn't have even prepared him, because those are 2 different level of fighter. I just don't, I ask this every time. Who has he faced with a similar style to Floyd Mayweather? Who's as sharp? Who's as fast? Who's as elusive? Who's as defensively savvy? And when I go back and look at his UFC fights, I just don't see anybody.
Right, but that's the great unknown, right, Marcos? Is that we just don't necessarily know what he's going to bring. We think we know. All 3 of us have watched so many freaking fights that we know a superior boxer like Floyd is not necessarily going to get touched or tested to our own respective beliefs against a guy who has never fought professionally in a boxing ring. But that is the great unknown. That's why we're all tuning in. That's why we're all buying it. That's why we're all going to a bar or flocking to a fight party, right?
Yeah, it's the great what if. And it happens. It's happened before in boxing. No one thought George Foreman was going to knock out Michael Moore. That came out of nowhere. He's getting his butt beat for 8, 9, 10 rounds, and then out comes the punch out of nowhere. Buster Douglas and Mike Tyson. No one ever thought that was going to happen. But on the flip side of that, though, honestly, those guys have been fighting their whole entire lives. Michael Moore was a beast. Buster Douglas could fight. I'm not saying Conor can't fight, but just he hasn't been boxing his whole entire life. But that is the question. What if something happens? And I think the more accurate thing for this fight, I would say, for the what if factor, is if Floyd gets old overnight. If he just is completely shot, his reflexes aren't there, he's slow, his legs are heavy, then if that happens, if he gets old overnight in that fight, then it's bad news.
I know you're saying hypothetically, but you went to a lot of those workouts, yes? Where Floyd was working out. He didn't look slow at all, right?
No, oh my God, he looked sharp. And sparring partners were telling me that he looked sharper for this fight than he did for the Pacquiao fight.
Wow.
And I could tell, like he looked really, really sharp. Not I'll be honest, he wasn't as just a little bit slower. Just a little bit slower in terms of his hand speed, the way he was moving around. But then the next day we went and saw Conor, and I saw him working out, and honestly, within like 40 seconds, I was like, oh my God.
What was it specifically?
I thought, oh my God, this is not going to be good. Because I saw Conor, and I'm like, how can you be that slow? Like, how can you throw these punches so slow? And then I was hearing the punches, and I didn't hear a normal thud like I usually do when we're at workouts for like other welterweights. When I've seen Keith Thurman, like all these welterweights, like when you hear him hit the back, you hear a thud, like you can hear it. And then when Conor was hitting the back, I was kind of like, this guy's talking about how like much of a power puncher he is, and I'm sitting there and I'm literally 4 feet away from him, and I'm like, he's not hitting the bag really too hard. Like I'm not seeing this power. And then when he would throw his power shots, it just didn't sound the same compared to these other guys. And I'm just like, man, this is gonna be a rough night for him if he's showing what he looks like 2 weeks out from the fight. He was hiding something. If he wasn't working out as intensively, I would understand. He doesn't want cameras to see, but based off of that, I was just like,
allow me to interject here, Marcos, and Brittin, you could jump in as well, is that I remember, I think it was the first press stop. So that was LA. And I believe Leonard Ellerbe, speaking with MMAfighting.com, said that the uppercut bag that Conor was hitting when he looked so slow and he was going up and going down, Leonard Ellerbe, now granted he's Team Mayweather obviously, but he said he's not, like you guys bought that. You guys really bought that. So like when I hear him say that, now again, he's trying to hype up his guy and shit on the opponent. Like I totally understand that, guys. But if any one of you want to jump in here, I believe what Marcos saw is not necessarily the best Conor McGregor because he is so suspicious. If you read the Wright Thompson article on ESPN, he's so suspicious of everybody and everything. So I believe that he wasn't trying to put forth his best effort, so Mayweather doesn't have that much more tape on Conor.
I mean, that's definitely something worth noting, worth taking into the fight, just as a mental thought. But at the end of the day, I'll go back to my original question: who has Conor ever faced to prepare him for Floyd Mayweather? I think if you look at the style, you look at the body type, you look at what you've seen in the UFC, you look at the footage that you saw of him fighting Paulie, you can say he fought Canelo Alvarez at one, and he rehydrated to 170. He fought Ricky Hatton where he was just holding on the inside, made it a very, very ugly, rough fight, and he was a little bit faster than Floyd anticipated. He fought Marcos Maidana, who just threw 100 punches around, put his head in Floyd's chest, and threw punches from every different angle. And, like I said before, he's also fought Robert the Ghost Guerrero, who was a left-handed fighter, very aggressive. And I think Paulie noted this at the beginning of their fight. Robert answered every punch that Floyd threw with a punch. So he was very aware of what he wanted to do in the ring. It's just that after a certain point, Floyd is so sharp, he starts cutting you up, and that adrenaline dump happens. Then you're not the fighter that you kind of prepared for. And I that is my point. I want to hear Marcos' point, but Marcos, I'll also want you to answer. What do you think of Conor's weight? What did you think of his weight cut? And do you think that it will? Do you think it'll benefit him that he came in at 153, or do you think that it affects him in a negative fashion on fight night?
Well, he's used to doing that cut when he fights at 155.
He did that once, though, right?
Yeah, when he fought Eddie Alvarez.
Yeah.
And it didn't affect him, so I don't think it's gonna affect him too much, to be honest. I think what is gonna affect him is he's not used to getting punched so much to the body, to the shoulders, to the arms, the head. And I think that's going to potentially wear him down a lot. But in terms of weight, it's going to make him slower, weighing 170. He normally weighs 170. That's his normal weight. When he was fighting at featherweight at 145, he would rehydrate up to 170 and he looked fine. So I don't think it's going to make him too slow because that's his normal cut that he does.
Hey, guys, Dylan is asking us, what time is the fight? We've been going over this so many times, but I think Brittin, you said like roughly 8:30 Pacific time.
I heard 9 o'clock.
Was that
9 o'clock Yeah, 9 o'clock Pacific time they will be in the ring.
Okay, 9 o'clock. So 11 o'clock in Chicago. Man, midnight on the East Coast. It's rough. Okay. Lastly,
but you want to see the walk-ins, though.
Oh, of course. Yeah, 100%. I remember asking Dave Ross, and I don't have the odds. Once again, I could look it up. But do you believe, Marcos, that Nate Diaz is going to walk out with Floyd? Here are the odds. Yes, plus 115. No, minus 160.
Huh. He should do it just to mess with him. He should have Nate in his corner. That'd be hilarious. I think that's the funniest thing in the world if he has Nate in his corner.
Can you imagine Nate giving him instructions in the corner, too?
That would mess with Conor. I think that'd be the funniest thing in the world. I haven't seen any Nick and Nate sightings in Vegas yet, and I follow a lot of their Snapchats. I know a lot of the people that know them, too, and I haven't heard anything, to be honest. It wouldn't surprise me, though. That would be a good bet. They're usually at every single big fight. So that would be a good bet that they're going to be there in Vegas now. He's going to walk out with them.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? Probably. I would think, why not? Why not invite the guy that last beat him, you know?
Totally. All right, Marcos, lastly for you, then we're going to let you go, and we appreciate the time. And please do check out his stuff at Fight Hub TV. How does it happen? How does it end? What do you think?
I think Mayweather's going to knock him out. He's going to stop him. And I think it's going to happen around 4 to 8 rounds. I think he's going to carry McGregor for a bit, knowing that he can have a little fun in there, given that he knows this guy is not at the level, and that the risk of him being a little bit more aggressive and the reward is not too great, where if he were to do something like that against a Manny Pacquiao or some of these other guys that he's been fighting lately, he wouldn't be able to do that because the risk would be way too much. Like with here, he has wiggle room. He can do things that he would normally do because this guy's skill level is so low.
Right.
I do expect Conor to be a little patient, but at some point he's going to start running into shots, and I think he's going to get fatigued due to the body work. And I've heard people from Floyd's camp say that they're going to target that body because Conor's not used to getting hit in the body like that. So I do expect either a corner stoppage or the ref just saving him from a really bad beating from rounds 4 to 8 TKO Floyd Mayweather.
All righty. Marcos Villegas of Fight Hub TV. Check out his stuff at youtube.com/Fight Hub TV. And also, of course, on Twitter at Fight Hub TV. I'm telling you, I have spoken with him at 120. We are speaking with him now at TYT. We're going to get him on a ton. Not only does he cover boxing, he covers MMA. He goes in the streets. He talks to the fans. He gives you some of the best content that you could possibly get on the ground for a lot of these fights. So, Marcos, we really, really appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it.
All righty. Marcos Villegas of Fight Hub TV. Great stuff, as always, once again, from him, Brittin. So, let's see. We got Flow Combat coming on, Dwayne Finley. And then we're going to have Francis Maxwell as well. But just to go further a little bit more, Brittin, on some of the comments that Marcos had, he said that's going to be from 4 to 8. Do you even see it lasting? What would that be? 16, 24 minutes without counting the minute stoppage in between?
Yeah, definitely. I thought that I anticipated that Floyd would win by, a vicious body attack in rounds 8 or 9. So I think that, Floyd's going to be his usual self. He's going to get his timing. He's going to get his distance. I do think that, and when Floyd says he's going to come to somebody, people act like Floyd's never done that before. Go back and watch the Canelo Alvarez fight when Canelo was 170 pounds. Floyd wasn't dancing around. Floyd came straight to the middle of the ring and stood toe-to-toe to that guy, and he was boxing with his waist. He was boxing with his upper body, but his feet, for the most part, were standing still. Now, I mean, it's just wise to take a half step back or to step around if you see the opening. No one's going to just stand there when you can get hit. But I do think that Floyd's going to fight this fight tonight, similar to the one we saw him face against Canelo Alvarez.
You brought up a really interesting point about Canelo previously. And we're talking, of course, about Floyd Mayweather's previous opponents and how he went up against Canelo Alvarez. You brought up a really interesting point. Who did Canelo fight before he took on Floyd Mayweather? And then you brought Austin Trout. But number one, Austin Trout is way bigger than Floyd Mayweather.
And a southpaw.
So Austin Trout, like, here's the thing, and I like Austin Trout, and we watched the Cotto Trout fight. Here's the problem with Austin Trout. Oh, we have Francis Maxwell on the line. Let me finish this thought, and then we'll get to him. I like Austin Trout. We both thought that he was going to be the next guy to not necessarily be a pound-for-pound great, but be a contender. Yeah, and then we learned that he fought a older Miguel Cotto, pre-Cotto teaming up with Freddie Roach. And he looked good, but then he just sort of fell off a cliff, which told me a lot about the guy that Canelo Alvarez beat. All right, Francis Maxwell is joining us here on youtube.com/TYT Sports. Hello, Francis!
Hi, how are we?
Hello! So this is the closest that we're going to get to Ireland, everybody. Francis, our Scottish friend. Firstly,
yes.
where the heck are you? I thought you said you were going to be in a car.
Supposed to, but I readjusted my plans just for you, Rickstopher Strom.
Thank you,
for the TYT audience. I just knew that I missed the opportunity to shed my completely unprofessional, non-based in any sort of boxing knowledge thoughts on this fight, because I'm just so excited about it, and I had to be able to express my thoughts on it one way or another. Brittin and I had a great conversation yesterday. Talking about by the way? Several of this fight, and regardless of what anyone thinks, I'm just excited to see someone who is simply a mad bastard on the greatest boxer of all time. That's the only analysis you need. Is just out of the beauty of it all, it's a guy that's just really take on the greatest boxer or defensive boxer of all time.
Right. Brittin, you want to go further on that? A crazy bastard?
No, I think he's accurate. You know, you saw the man in his underwear and his Johnson, you know, kind of just out with Calvin Klein briefs, standing toe-to-toe with Floyd Mayweather, screaming in his face. And my first thought was, put your pants on. You know, like, you know, I wasn't even focused on what he was saying to Floyd. I had to watch the video back 2 or 3 times.
He's flexing, Brittin.
But I understand that. But see, traditionally in boxing, the way boxing works is you put your pants on before you get in my face. You know, like, you don't stand toe to toe to me in your underwear and yell at me, because that's just sending me all kind of wrong signals. So I think that was maybe an art of war. It was maybe a war tactic where he thought, you know, I'm really just going to be absurd. I'm going to get in this guy's face. I'm going to do things the way I traditionally do them in the UFC. I'm going over here in my briefs and I'm yelling in this dude's face. And I mean, hey, it was very entertaining. I had people texting me saying he's in full character. I might think that he could win this fight if he comes in with this level of adrenaline. So I think that he accomplished what he set to accomplish with the fans. I just don't know if he accomplished what he set out to accomplish with Floyd.
Yeah, very fair point. Francis, what will you view this overall as a win for Conor? Not necessarily him winning with the cards, not necessarily him winning by knockout. Neither of us think that'll happen, but what do you view personally as a win for Conor in this, in any given outcome?
I generally think that he's already won. I agree with what Brittin said yesterday. He's already got himself into a new outlet where he can go and further himself, because Conor McGregor is a master of his own destiny. You can agree or disagree with what he said. I've watched his journey. I mean, he was on welfare before his big fight. He basically convinced his girlfriend at the time, still his girlfriend, to just stick with him. I'm going to do this. I'm going to be the first double belt holder in the amateur division. I'm going to be the first double belt holder as I go into the UFC. So you got to admire that regardless. And he says he wants to be a record breaker. He wants to be a shapeshifter in every aspect. So giving himself a new outlet to go to. Mm-hmm. The one thing I will say about Conor McGregor at the moment in the weigh-ins, I know Floyd Mayweather's in great shape, but Conor McGregor looks in the greatest shape I've ever seen him. And I watched back closely. I know this is a little weird, a guy admiring someone else's packages and everything else and how great he looks. But when you look at him in the Nate Diaz fight, the first one, he did not look more than anything. He was still in great shape, but he looked thicker. In this aspect, he reminds me a little bit of Rocky Balboa. He goes to fight Mr. T when he's just so shredded, but he's right in the weight, right? So, like, I get Floyd Mayweather's always been in great shape, and he looks in great shape. But there's something about Conor that looks as if he's got combination that he's trying to feel out from going in between these weight classes. Like, when he fought, the difference in his weight just from looking at him fight, the Nate Diaz fights, it was apparent. You could see that he was a little bit more cut up. He was a little bit more focused on his cardio rather than just being heavy enough to be able to make that weight. And at the moment, I feel like he's at his perfect to be both nimble and powerful. So I don't think that means that all of a sudden he's going to be more of a threat to Floyd Mayweather. I've voiced my thoughts that the biggest threat he has is that he is just a guy that Floyd Mayweather has never seen before, and maybe has that to go in his favor. But just by looking at him, possible chance at trying to do something.
But you brought up an interesting point that you said that he looked the best that he ever did at the weigh-in. He's going to put on so much weight overnight. And even right now, he's probably eating whatever and drinking protein shakes to try and, as we said, and Marcus Villegas, who just joined us at Fight Up TV, said that he's going to be around 170. Dave Ross of Stadium said the same as well. So technically, with what you're saying, you would say try to stay, he was at 153, try to stay maybe under 160 for him to continue to be in great shape?
Yeah. This is a popular tactic amongst many fighters, who, especially with Conor McGregor, who the only way I think that he, in his mind, is trying to Floyd Mayweather with any possible shot is to try and land those power punches that he says that Floyd Mayweather has never received before, because no one can handle those punches in a similar weight class in the UFC. We saw Eddie Alvarez try to take them and just couldn't. Floyd Mayweather's a lot more established to be able to avoid those, but I think that McGregor's trying to think about that in the same sense. What I would worry is that he does try to pack on too much, and as Brittin expertly broke down, and I agree with, is his stamina might be what his biggest enemy is, because he might try to put on this weight, try to be a little heavier, and Floyd Mayweather just picks him apart with the body punches that he's never faced before and takes his lungs out. And that's where I would worry that Conor really would slow down. He needs to be able to maintain that power punch enough to go 12 rounds, because let's remember, no UFC fight ever goes 5 rounds, championship rounds. So it's going to be a marathon, and he has to make sure that he's aware of that. His camp needs to make sure they're aware of that, and not just try to pack him with in and out until he heads into the boxing ring.
There's somebody on the live stream, and please do continue to send in your comments here. He says, what if he, as in Conor, doesn't get tired? If he trained well enough? Okay, so let's just say hypothetically, guys, and anybody can jump in here, that he did train well enough, that he could last, I'll just say 10 rounds, because that would obviously be a win. Do either of you even believe that it's up to the cardio? Isn't it just up to the pure boxing skill that they have, respectively?
You can be as well trained and well prepared as you want to. I said this yesterday on the live stream. If you are well trained and your cardio is at its peak, you can take a headshot that you see. As long as you see the punches coming, you can see them. You can brace for them, and your cardio will save you. That's largely a part of the reason why Floyd wasn't knocked cold when he fought against Shane Mosley and got hit with, 2 big right hands in the second round. His cardio was up to par. He does those neck exercises that allow him to take a big punch and allow him to take that impact. And he knew how to carry himself in the ring. He didn't panic. When you, on the contrary, don't see the punches coming, there's no way you can defend against that. On the second point, if you get hit in the body, it doesn't matter how well trained you are. If you get hit properly on the kidney, or if you get hit properly someplace in the body that knocks all of your oxygen out of you, you can, I said this yesterday, it makes weasels out of tough guys. You may want to or think to yourself, my body is betraying me, because you've prepared to go 12, 14, 15 rounds, but your body just will not cooperate with you. And that's something that you can't, you don't have any bearings on. Right. So if he did train, which I hope he did, and it looks like he trained phenomenally, if he is able to go 10 to 12 rounds with Floyd Mayweather, you still have to ask yourself, is he the better technical fighter in the ring? Right, and obviously Floyd Mayweather being the answer to that question. Real Madrid is asking me, actually, do you think those karate stances are going to make a difference? Fuck no. 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 Francis, we're in agreement. Francis, let me ask you this. Dana White via Yahoo said on Conor winning, quote, he'll run the world. Isn't he doing that already, to a point you made like 2 minutes ago? He's arguably the biggest name right now in all of sports.
Yeah, I remember when we talked about this before, Rick. I think both of us, when you came into the TYT studio a couple of months ago, and I stressed the point, and of course that was hit with the usual, I'm just a McGregor humper and I love everything about him. Like, I admire the guy.
Humper. Okay, first off, let's backtrack a second. No one has ever said that in the existence of the English
they
language. No, they
know.
haven't.
The
No,
McGregor pumping show is what it's almost called in the comment section.
That might be the next T-shirt we have printed up. I can see
I will gladly
McGregor humper.
I will sport it, and you know, Fibella. The difference is that I can connect with in qualities like just sheer determination, cockiness, of course. But Conor McGregor, as I mentioned this to you, Rick, when we were discussing or noticeable on the street. Now, this is before this latest surge of stints. But at the time, we were comparing Ronda Rousey and Conor McGregor, and I said that even back then, the McGregor gathers an audience that neither the boxing industry or the UFC industry has been able to capture. Cheers. And I state that boldly, knowing that maybe Brittin might disagree, you might disagree, because what he's done is he's gathered a fan base that reminds me so much so of the passionate football fan base that follows Manchester United all over the world and follows Barcelona, because they're so him. Because we haven't seen a fighter that's been able to, I think, gather that same sort of atmosphere, that same sort of electricity, and take it all over the world. I mean, when's the last time that you saw fan bases of that same stature follow Canelo Alvarez across anywhere else? I know he has a big fan base, but I'm talking about
not like this.
I was in New York, and I've seen I've been in fighting industries before where I've went to watch Anthony Joshua, and I've seen a fan base that does, but not to the same extent, where you have thousands of Irish just following this guy like a wave all over the world.
Well, allow me to interject. Isn't the difference between Conor and Anthony Joshua is that Conor is more of a shit talker, where it's like, all right, like you know, like he's, I hate Mel Gibson because he's an anti-Semite, but just follow me here. So like Braveheart, when he's like, all right, let's go, like that's Conor rivaling up his own troops, whereas Anthony Joshua is just like, yeah, let's go. Like,
to that very point though, Rick, I have to agree with Francis in the sense that he knows how to galvanize people who want to see him victorious, and he knows how to polarize people who want to see him lose, and that is a gift. He has mic skills that people go take classes for. He has a natural charm that people who want to see him succeed, they're attracted to that, and it's something that a lot of people don't have, and that's what kind of I can see why you would make why you would think that him and Floyd Mayweather are so similar, because Floyd does the same thing. Floyd does the exact same thing. He polarizes people who hate the flashy lifestyle that he's become synonymous with, but he also galvanizes people who say, you know what, I understand his struggle. He grew up on the rough streets of Michigan. And, you know, the stories that he kind of tells that his mother and father don't shy away from, with his father selling drugs, sometimes having sold drugs to his mother having them live in a 1-bedroom apartment with no lights and no heat in Detroit. There's someone who relates with that, and they want to see him win no matter what, no matter how bad he does. So, you know, I agree with you in the sense that Conor McGregor is a winner regardless of the outcome of this fight. The moment the bell rings, he gets a check of $100 million cashed into his account. So he's a winner on two fronts there. And then when you think about this fight in regards to a battle in a war, you know, Floyd Mayweather may win the battle tonight, but Conor McGregor ultimately is going to win the war. And Floyd Mayweather this is his swan song. He's done after this. And the sport, combat sports in general, they have three faces. It's going to be Anthony Joshua and Canelo Alvarez in boxing, and it's going to be Conor McGregor and Conor McGregor in the UFC. And he has already made inroads into the boxing world, where we talked about this, and I hope we can speak to it at length at some point in the live stream. He can go and face Paulie Malignaggi after this. He can face the winner of Gennady Golovkin and Canelo Alvarez after this, because he's already mentioned their names. So people are already kind of comparing those people. Or he has plenty of things that he can do in the UFC. He can go and face Kevin Lee. He can go and face Tony Ferguson. He can go and do the rematch with Nick Diaz. Or, like me and Francis talked about yesterday, which I think that he'll wait for ultimately because it'll always be there, he can go to the WWE and make millions.
Oh, yeah, 100%. A few more for you. Yeah, go ahead.
Something else that doubled down on kind of the point that Brittin was saying, that I I haven't expressed it as much, but I feel like it's a perfect opportunity. Like, polarizing figure who comes from a group that has been oppressed in the past. Now, this is so prominent when it comes to black athletes in America, right? They're able to garner a crowd that relates and loves the idea of someone who comes from a background like LeBron James carries a sense of just them everywhere he goes because he was able to come from a situation that wasn't easiest to get around, didn't know his father, and was able to just really, in a way, make a name for himself that is legendary, puts him in the history books. And there's so many athletes that go back in America that you can make that same sort of attribute to. Now, Conor McGregor, of that to Irish people, because as Conor McGregor has stated before, like I specifically coming from the United Kingdom, I don't want to get overtly political, but the Irish across the United Kingdom before the war and everything split were oppressed, and they are perceived in that view of oppression and have not been treated in a similar sense dating way back in history. So the Irish people have been looking for a champion of their people to step up. Roy Keane was that champion for the national team, the way that he was able to garner that sense of patriotism.
Mickey Ward in
and
boxing too.
Mickey Ward, yeah, exactly. So and a lot of people in the United Kingdom have had that. England have had several that have been able to garner that sense of patriotism that goes along. I mean, Scotland as well, don't get me wrong, but in industry have just wanted someone in a way to be able to get that level, but take it and surpass even those that have been their opposition, surpass any British fighters that have tried to do it, surpass Scottish, English, Welsh. And there's something about a pride that Ireland now carries with them. When they look at Conor McGregor, they're like, no, we're not just competing. As he said, we have someone who's the best.
I agree.
Just trying to aspire. They want to be Irish. They want to try to mix with us, and they want to try to make sure that we garner this fan base that they replicate. I don't think there's any athlete in the world at the moment who can replicate that way, that same thing, like the ability, the cockiness, the fan base. And this is why I get this message of I'm just a McGregor fanboy, where I just think I've not seen anything like this in the past. We've been waiting for someone like this. Mayweather in his prime definitely had that same appeal, and I think that McGregor is someone that comes around.
I disagree. I think that he had some sort of appeal because he was so polarizing with his shit talking when he did decide to shit talk, but he wasn't liked. Like I never got the feeling like Floyd Mayweather had the same likability as Conor McGregor, because Conor, if you just go through contrasting styles of their prime shit talking days outside of their respective stadia, Conor McGregor's funnier, he's wittier, he has a different way of talking shit. I think that there's a likability of him being Irish or someone being Scottish as opposed to an American shit talker, because nothing really is that original. Everything just comes out with a little bit more flavor. Do you catch my drift here, Francis? Like there's something just a little bit different about an Irishman or someone. Anyway, it doesn't matter, from Wales, from the United Kingdom overall. There's a certain uniqueness to it that Americans love.
Yeah, there's something that I highlighted this when it came to the shit talking aspect. This is before Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor came head to head. This is when the famous UFC press conference, well, who the fuck is that guy? Like, this is what, like, there's just something that I think we have our flaws. People in the United Kingdom, in Ireland, we have definitely our flaws, but we're very witty and sharp, and it makes it very hard with our sense of humor. Like, that's what the very Ricky Gervais style of humor, where it's dry and it's up front and it's hard to take at times.
But admit the original Office isn't as good as the American Office.
No, it's better. It's
you're fucking crazy.
It's that
nuts.
Steve Carell style of comedy, it comes from Ricky Gervais. You know, Steve Carell has always been that funny, but that style and that
oh, of course, he adopted it from Ricky Gervais.
In America,
yeah,
is it? I think so. So with that sense of shit talking, and that's why Conor McGregor is able to garner those laughs where he's like you're making toy balloons with one hand and whatever else.
Gun signs with
like,
one hand and toy balloons with the other.
So let me ask you guys a question. Let me ask you guys a question, because it's been a hot button topic in the lead up to this fight. Okay. And, you know, I think that it flows well with the nature of our conversation right now. Floyd has said that Conor McGregor stole his motto. He says that he was one of the first fighters to, you know, wear flashy mink coats and flash money around and drive the fast, fancy cars, live the flashy lifestyle. And when he did it, he was largely condemned and people didn't think too highly of it. But now that Conor McGregor is doing it, oh man, he's just confident and he really believes in himself. And that's the way all athletes should be. What do you guys feel about Floyd Mayweather's claims that, you know, there could be a tinge of, you know, maybe they just don't want to see a black man doing these things?
Yeah, I agree with Francis. Allow me to interject real quick, and then I want to hear what Francis has to say. Ric Flair did it before that, too. Now, I know that that was fake fighting, but he also brought the swagger to any sort of, if you want to just throw it in the same realm of fighting. So anything that Floyd did, it was somewhat copied, in my opinion, aside from the woo from Ric Flair. Like, Ric Flair wore the alligator shoes. He wore the coats. It's just a look and a bravado that's been recycled.
Did you see the interview with Jim Graham, Floyd Mayweather, in the lead up to this fight? It was about a 15-minute interview where I think he likened Floyd to Rocky Balboa, and Floyd said, "I'm sorry, no disrespect, but I can't let you do that because what I'm really doing is putting my life on the line." Now, yeah, I feel very similar in this sense, that just because you can't play boxing. Boxing is very serious. And I hope we speak about this at length too, the kind of injuries that fighters can sustain in MMA versus boxing on this live stream. But I don't think that that's a fair analogy, just because that man wasn't put. It's easy to say when there's a script and you know you win at the end of the fight, or you know you're not going to be severely hurt. Yeah. It's easy for you to be Ric Flair. Mm-hmm. Put on a suit and have a lot of bravado, but I don't think it's as easy to have that amount of confidence that Floyd Mayweather has when you can get knocked out, severely hurt, and possibly killed in a boxing match.
Francis?
I definitely want to touch on both of those points. I think that the first point is a very valid one that Brittin brought up, and it's something that I, despite being a huge fan of Conor McGregor, has never danced around with the whole racial conversation that's going on. I mean, if you've even glanced at one of my Facebook videos that I do aside from sports, I think there's a huge amount of racial prejudice in this country that is specifically associated with black athletes. I think I've broken the record for the amount of Kaepernick clips that I've done, because if this was a white man kneeling, it would not be the same perception. The way that Cam Newton, I made a case for this 2 years ago. He was dancing, and because he was being a showman, and because he was pushing the boundaries, it really upset the white narrative of the NFL, and that was so heavily racial, just racial perceptions on the way that a black athlete is supposed to handle themselves. And I do think that when it came to Floyd Mayweather, that is absolutely part of it. But one part that you cannot look aside from, which I'm interested to see if Brittin agrees, Floyd Mayweather, aside from the fact that there may have been some form of racial prejudice in the way that he was perceived in the mainstream media,
he didn't help.
The man has beaten his wife. The man has carried himself not in light, regardless of what's going on. If Floyd Mayweather had the same, I would say, background that I think that Conor McGregor has shown, like keeps his family life very much separate from his life inside the octagon or in the boxing ring. He has got a wife that a girlfriend that he's stood by since day one. Hasn't been anything. There's definitely some cloudy areas on the words that he used when it comes to describing people in press conferences and the way that he acts. And I do think there's a very thin line that he's walking, and I have voiced that. But Floyd Mayweather's perception, I think, is a combination of both doused in the racial identity of a black man being able to go forth and prove that he's able to accomplish certain amounts of wealth that is almost unimaginable. But there's also the side to it that he has not held himself sort of I would say positive regard, whether he's black, white, brown. He is not being an ideal sports personality, regardless of his race. And I think that does play a part in it. But I would never deny tendency there that alters someone's perception of someone.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I think that, just to kind of as a precursor to what I'm about to say, I'm not a Floyd apologist at all. I think that when you mention certain sports, when you mention basketball, you have to mention LeBron James. When you mention football, you have to mention Tom Brady. When you mention boxing, you have to mention Floyd Mayweather, because he's the greatest that we've seen in this generation. Now, all of that aside, I do not know Floyd Mayweather personally, and I don't know for a fact that he beat any woman. I know that I don't agree with that. I know that that's an atrocity to me. I know that I was raised differently. and I know that I was raised to think that any man who put his hands on a woman is less than a man. That is something that Floyd done in on TYT before. I definitely do that, but I'm not. I love someone having second chance and redeem themselves and becoming somebody different. I do know that